Real quick before I start, if you're the type who listens to these on long hauls or late at night, hit subscribe and smack that like button. Helps the channel out more than you'd think. I tell a new one every Monday and Friday. And drop a comment if you've had something weird happen on the road. I read 'em. Other drivers do too. All right, here's how it went. Been driving long haul for 16 years now. Started right out of high school when my dad got me on with Schneider. Worked my way up to owner-operator about 8 years back. Run a 2019 Peterbilt 579 with a 13-speed manual. None of that automatic nonsense for me. Based out of Denver, but I'll take loads anywhere from Seattle down to El Paso if the rate's right. What I'm about to tell you happened 3 summers ago, July 2021. I was running livestock, cattle specifically, on a regular route from a ranch operation outside Limon, Colorado, down to a processing plant in Dodge City, Kansas. Not my favorite kind of freight, to be honest. Livestock's got its own rules, its own headaches. Department of Transportation's all over you about hours of service. Can't let the animals sit too long. Got to check on them every couple hours. And the smell, well, you get used to it. But it ain't pleasant. The route I'd take was pretty straightforward. Pick up the load at the ranch around 4 p.m., head south on US 40 to Limon, then catch I-70 east through Kansas. Straight shot, basically. About 280 miles door to door. So even with the livestock restrictions and mandatory breaks, I could make the delivery by midnight, grab some sleep at the truck stop there, and head back empty the next morning. Ranch owner's name was Bill Kowalski. Good guy, paid on time. Always had the cattle ready when he said he would. Been working with him for about 2 years at that point. His operation wasn't huge, maybe 200 head. But he moved cattle regular, about once a week during summer months. I had the contract locked up, which was nice, steady money. The trailer I was pulling was a standard livestock hauler. Aluminum, 48-foot, 3 decks with slats on the sides for ventilation. You can hear the animals back there while you're driving. Lot of shuffling around, occasional mooing, that kind of thing. Especially when you're accelerating or braking, they got to adjust their footing. After a while, you tune it out, like white noise. First time it happened was a Tuesday night. July 6th. I remember because it was right after the 4th of July weekend, and traffic was still heavy with folks heading home from vacation. Picked up 32 head from Bill's place right on schedule. Young steers, maybe 800 pounds each. They loaded easy. No problems. Bill and I shot the breeze for a few minutes about the weather. Been dry that summer, real dry. And then I was rolling by 4:20. Hit I-70 around 5:15. Sun was still high, but starting to get that late afternoon angle. This stretch of Kansas is about as flat and empty as it gets. Some folks call it boring. I don't mind it. Easy driving. Not much traffic once you get past the Denver suburbs. Radio reception's spotty, but I got my CB and my satellite radio to keep me company. The cattle were doing their usual thing back there. Could hear them shifting around when I'd change lanes or hit a bump. Nothing unusual. I'd done this run enough times that I had a pretty good rhythm down. Check the mirrors every few seconds, scan the gauges, keep an ear on the CB for traffic reports. Right around mile marker 127. That's about 40 miles east of Limon. Something changed. The cattle went dead quiet. I mean, completely silent. Like somebody threw a switch. 1 second I could hear them moving around, making their normal cattle noises, and the next second, nothing. Just the sound of my engine and the road noise. Now, I'd hauled livestock enough to know that sometimes they settle down. Get into a rhythm with the truck's movement, and just ride quiet for a while. But this wasn't that. This was different. This was like they all stopped breathing at the exact same time. I glanced at the clock on my dash, 6:23 p.m. Checked my mirrors. Couldn't see much through the slats of the livestock trailer, just some shapes in the shadows. But I couldn't see any movement at all. Kept driving. What else was I going to do? Pull over on the interstate to check on cattle that were probably just resting? Doty would have my ass if they found me parked on the shoulder for no good reason. Besides, Bill never said anything about his cattle being spooky or high-strung. They were just regular beef steers. The silence lasted about 10 minutes. Then, right around mile marker 117, they started up again, shuffling, mooing, back to normal. Like nothing happened. I made the delivery on schedule. Cattle came off the truck just fine. All 32 head, healthy and active. Processing plant supervisor didn't mention anything unusual. I grabbed some food at the diner next to the truck stop, took my 10-hour break, and headed home empty the next morning. Figured it was just one of those things. Next week, same run. Different cattle. Bill had another group ready to go. 35 head this time. Loaded up Tuesday afternoon, same time. Weather was still hot and dry. Radio was talking about drought conditions getting worse across eastern Colorado and western Kansas. Same route, same timing. Hit I-70 around 5:10. Cattle were normal, making their usual noises. I had the CB on Channel 19, listening to a couple drivers up ahead talking about a smoky at the 180-mile marker. Eastbound traffic was light. Mile marker 127. 6:19 p.m. Dead silence. Same thing. Like somebody unplugged them. Complete quiet from the trailer. This time I was paying attention. I let off the throttle a little, not braking, just coasting to see if maybe the change in engine noise had something to do with it. But no, they stayed quiet. Not a sound. I picked up the CB handset. Breaker 19, this is Diesel Dan eastbound at the 125. Any you drivers notice anything unusual out here? Static for a few seconds, then a voice came back. This is Moondog, eastbound ahead of you. What kind of unusual you talking about, Dan? Not sure. Just wondering if you seen anything weird. Negative, Dan. Just hot and boring out here. What you hauling? Livestock. Well, hell, that's weird enough right there. He laughed. I stick to dry van myself. Yeah, copy that. Thanks, Moondog. I hung up the handset, kept driving. Clock said 6:24. Still dead quiet back there. Right around mile marker 117, they started up again. Just like the week before. Like somebody flipped a switch and they all came back to life. Made the delivery. Everything normal. But driving home the next morning, empty trailer rattling behind me, I kept thinking about it. Same mile markers, same timing, same exact thing. Could be coincidence. I deal in facts, not superstition. Been driving these roads too long to get spooked by every little thing that don't make perfect sense. But it stuck with me. Third week, I was ready for it. Brought along a thermos of coffee and made sure my CB was on the right channel. Had my logbook open on the passenger seat so I could write down exact times and mile markers. If something was happening, I wanted to document it proper. Same load, same route. 31 head this time. Bill seemed a little distracted when I picked them up. Asked him if everything was all right. Yeah, just this damn drought, he said, squinting up at the cloudless sky. Haven't had decent rain in 6 weeks. Pastures are burning up. Might have to start buying hay earlier than usual if this keeps up. Weather service saying anything about rain coming? Not till maybe September. Going to be a long summer. We loaded the cattle, and I was rolling by 4:15, earlier than usual, but that was fine. Give me a little more cushion on the delivery time. Hit I-70 at 5:05. Cattle were restless, more restless than normal. Could hear them stomping around back there, more mooing than usual. Might have been the heat. Temperature was pushing 95 degrees, and even with the ventilation slots, that trailer gets warm. I had my eye on the odometer as I approached mile marker 130. Radio was playing some old Merle Haggard song. CB was quiet, except for occasional chatter from long-distance drivers. Mile marker 129, 6:14 p.m. Cattle still making noise. Mile marker 128, 6:16 p.m. Still normal. Mile marker 127, 6:18 p.m. Dead silence. I wrote it down in my logbook. 6:18 p.m., MM127, cattle quiet. Same thing as before. Complete, absolute silence. Not just quiet. Silent. Like there was nothing alive back there at all. But this time I tried something different. I clicked on my four-way flashers and started slowing down. Not stopping, just dropping from 70 mph to about 45. If there was something wrong with the cattle, I needed to know. Found a wide spot on the shoulder near mile marker 126 and eased the rig over. Put on my parking brake, left the engine running, grabbed my flashlight from the door pocket, got out and walked back to the trailer. The silence was even more noticeable outside the cab. No engine noise to mask it. Just wind across the prairie and the distant hum of traffic. I shined my flashlight through the ventilation slats. The cattle were there, all 31 head, standing upright. But they weren't moving, not even a little. They were standing there like statues, all facing the same direction, facing east. I banged on the side of the trailer with my fist. "Hey, come on!" Nothing. No reaction at all. Walked around to the back of the trailer and tried to get a better look through the rear gate. Same thing. They were standing, breathing. I could see their sides moving, but otherwise, completely still. All facing east, like they were looking at something. I looked east myself. Nothing but empty highway disappearing into the heat haze. Flat prairie on both sides. No other traffic in sight. "What the hell you looking at?" I said out loud. Just then, they all started moving again. All at once, like before. Shuffling, mooing, back to normal. I checked my watch, 6:29 p.m. I climbed back in the cab and checked my logbook. 6:29 p.m., MM126, cattle normal. The rest of the drive was uneventful. Made the delivery on time. Cattle unloaded normal. But I didn't sleep well that night at the truck stop. Kept thinking about those animals, all standing still like that, all looking east. Fourth week, I almost called in sick. But I needed the money. And besides, what was I going to tell Bill? That his cattle were acting weird at a specific mile marker? He'd think I was losing it. Picked up the load, 28 head this time, smaller bunch, and headed out. But this time, I made sure to leave even earlier. Wanted to hit that stretch of road while it was still daylight. Maybe I'd see something I missed before. Got to I-70 by 4:45. Sun was high and hot. Temperature gauge on the dash was reading 98 degrees outside. Air conditioning was running full blast. The cattle seemed normal, maybe a little quieter than usual, but nothing out of the ordinary. Could still hear them moving around back there. As I approached mile marker 127, I turned off the radio and rolled down my windows. Wanted to hear everything. Mile marker 128, 5:58 p.m. Still some noise from the trailer. Mile marker 127, 6:01 p.m. Silence. But this time, with the windows down, I could hear something else. Something I hadn't noticed before. because I'd always had the windows up and the AC running. There was no wind. The air was completely still, no breeze at all. Which was weird, because it's always windy out here on the plains, always. Even on the calmest days, there's some air movement, and it wasn't just that the wind had stopped. The air felt thick, heavy, like right before a thunderstorm, except there wasn't a cloud in the sky. I kept driving, but slower this time. Maybe 50 miles per hour. Something didn't feel right. That's when I noticed the other vehicles. There was a pickup truck about a quarter-mile ahead of me. Had been there for the last few miles, maintaining the same speed. But now, it was slowing down too. In my mirrors, I could see a minivan maybe half a mile back. It was also slowing down, like whatever was affecting my cattle was affecting the people too. I picked up the CB. Breaker 19, this is Diesel Dan eastbound at the 125. Anybody else notice things getting a little strange out here? Nothing, not even static. I checked the CB. Power light was on, squelch was set normal. But when I keyed the mic, I didn't even get the usual feedback, like the radio wasn't transmitting. The pickup truck ahead of me was barely doing 40 now. I was gaining on it. As I got closer, I could see it was an older Ford, dark blue, with Kansas plates. Driver looked like an older guy, maybe 60s, wearing a baseball cap. I pulled into the left lane to pass him. As I came alongside, I looked over. The guy was gripping the steering wheel tight, staring straight ahead. His mouth was moving like he was talking to himself or maybe be praying. When he glanced over at me, his eyes were wide, scared. I waved at him, trying to get his attention, but he just looked back at the road ahead and kept driving. Pulled back into the right lane and kept going. In my side mirror, I could see the minivan had caught up to the pickup truck. Both vehicles were now crawling along at maybe 35 meters per hour. Then I saw it. About 2 miles ahead, right around where mile marker 117 should be, the air was shimmering. Not heat shimmer. I know what that looks like. This was different. Like looking through water. And above the shimmer, the sky looked wrong. Darker. Not like storm clouds, but like the sky itself was a different color. My hands were getting sweaty on the steering wheel. I'd been driving these roads for 16 years, and I'd never seen anything like this. The cattle were still completely silent behind me. I started slowing down more, down to 30 miles per hour, then 25. Part of me wanted to stop completely, maybe turn around. But there was nowhere to turn around, and the vehicles behind me were still coming. As I got closer to that shimmer in the air, I could see it more clearly. It stretched across the whole highway, from the north side to the south side, like a curtain hanging in the air. And there was something moving inside it, something big. I couldn't make out what it was exactly. The distortion made it hard to focus on. But there was definitely something there. Something that shouldn't be there. That's when my engine started running rough. Started with just a little hesitation, like maybe I'd gotten some bad diesel. But then it got worse. Engine was coughing, losing power. All my gauges were normal. Oil pressure, coolant temp, everything looked good. But the engine was definitely struggling. I downshifted from 10th gear to 9th, then to 8th. Truck was barely maintaining 20 mph now. The shimmer in the air was maybe half a mile ahead. I looked in my mirrors. The pickup truck and minivan had both stopped. Just sitting there on the highway, maybe a mile behind me. Hazard lights flashing. That's when I made my decision. I pulled the rig over onto the shoulder as far right as I could get without putting the trailer tires in the ditch. Set my parking brake and left the engine running. Didn't want to risk not being able to start it again. Got out and walked back to check on the cattle. They were still standing silent, still facing east. But this time, I could see their eyes, wide open, staring, like they were watching something. I looked where they were looking. The shimmer was closer now, maybe a quarter mile, and I could see what was moving inside it. It was big, real big. Tall as a grain elevator, maybe taller, and it was moving slow, from north to south, crossing the highway. I couldn't make out details because of the distortion, but it looked almost like a leg, a massive leg, taking one slow step. I stood there for maybe 30 seconds, just watching. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. Every instinct I had was telling me to get back in the truck and get the hell out of there. But I couldn't move. It was like that thing had me hypnotized, just like the cattle. Then the wind started up again, just a little breeze at first, then stronger. And as soon as the wind hit, the cattle started moving and making noise again. I snapped out of it, ran back to the cab, threw it in gear, and started rolling. Engine was running smooth again, all of a sudden. I accelerated hard, pushing the rig faster than I should have with a livestock load. But instead of heading toward that shimmer, I took the first exit I could find. Some little farm road that headed north. Didn't care where it went, just wanted off I-70. Found myself on a county road that paralleled the interstate, maybe 2 miles north of it. I could see the highway in the distance, and that shimmer was gone. Sky looked normal. Everything looked normal. But I wasn't taking any chances. Took me an extra hour and a half to find my way back to I-70 east of Dodge City using back roads and state highways. Had to call Bill from the truck stop and explain that I was running late. Made up some story about mechanical problems. Delivered the cattle around 2 a.m. They were fine. Acted like nothing had happened. But I was shook. Don't mind admitting it. Been driving these roads for 16 years, and I'd never seen anything like that. Called in sick the next week. Told Bill I had the flu, needed to take some time off. He was understanding about it, said he could find another hauler for a week or two, used that time to do some research. Went to the library in Denver, looked up everything I could find about that stretch of I-70. Looked up the history of the area, geological surveys, anything that might explain what I'd seen. Didn't find much. Whole area was settled pretty late, 1870s, 1880s. Before that, it was just empty prairie. Some cattle ranching, some wheat farming, nothing unusual. But I did find one thing that caught my attention. In 1934, during the Dust Bowl, there were reports of strange phenomena in that area. Travelers on what was then U.S. Highway 40 reported seeing mirages and unusual atmospheric disturbances. Some folks claimed they saw things that weren't there. Buildings, lakes, even what looked like large animals moving through the dust storms. Government investigators at the time blamed it on the drought conditions and the psychological stress of the economic depression. Said people were seeing things because they were desperate and scared. But the reports were consistent. Same basic location, same descriptions of shimmering air and strange sightings. And 1934 was a drought year, just like 2021. I went back to work after 2 weeks, but I told Bill I was switching to a different route. Told him I could pick up his cattle and deliver them to a different processing plant, one down in Amarillo that paid almost as good. He wasn't happy about it, but he went along with it. Ran that Amarillo route for the rest of the summer without any problems. But I kept thinking about what I'd seen out there on I-70 come fall after the drought broke and we started getting regular rain again. I got curious. Decided to take that route one more time, just to see. Picked up a load of machinery parts in Denver and dead-headed them to Topeka. Dry van this time, no livestock. Drove through that stretch around 6 p.m., right around the same time I'd always seen the phenomenon before. Nothing. Just normal highway, normal traffic, normal everything. But it was October by then. Cool weather, plenty of moisture in the air. Drought was over. I've talked to other drivers about this, but not many. Most folks would think I was crazy. But there's an old-timer named Charlie who runs out of Amarillo, been driving since the 1970s. He claims he saw something similar on I-40 near the Texas-New Mexico border during the drought of 1988. Says it was right around sunset, just like me. Says the air got still and his CB stopped working just like mine. And he swears he saw something big moving across the highway, something that shouldn't have been there. Charlie figures it's got something to do with the drought conditions. Says when the air gets dry enough and hot enough, maybe it creates some kind of distortion. Like a natural phenomenon that science don't understand yet. I don't know if he's right or not. I'm not a scientist. I just drive truck. But I'll tell you this much. I won't run that stretch of I-70 during a drought. And if you're smart, neither will you. Last summer, we had another dry spell. Not as bad as 2021, but bad enough. And I heard from a driver who runs for Werner that he had some strange experiences on I-70 in Kansas. Didn't give me details, just said he won't run that route anymore when conditions are dry. Makes me think whatever's out there is still out there, just waiting for the right conditions to show itself again. I've been thinking about retiring early. Got enough saved up, and my back ain't what it used to be anyway. Might buy a little place somewhere, maybe up in Colorado, where it's cooler, somewhere with regular rainfall. But until then, I stick to routes I know. Routes that don't take me through empty country during drought years. Routes where the cattle stay calm and the CB works. And the sky looks the way it's supposed to look. Because there's things out there in the empty places. Things that most folks never see. Because they stick to the populated areas. Travel during the day. Don't pay attention to what the animals are doing. But us truck drivers, we see things. We're out there at all hours, in all weather, hauling all kinds of loads through country that most people never even think about. And sometimes, when conditions are just right, or just wrong, we see things that ain't supposed to be there. I'm not saying it was aliens or monsters or anything like that. I don't know what it was. But I know what I saw, and I know how those cattle acted, and I know that something was out there on that stretch of highway that had no business being there. The way I figure it, this world's a lot stranger than most people think. Most of the time, we don't notice because we're too busy with our daily routines, too distracted by our phones and our problems. But get out in the empty country, pay attention to what's happening around you, and you'll start to see things. Maybe they're natural phenomena that science hasn't figured out yet. Maybe there are something else. I don't pretend to know. But I'll tell you what I do know. If you're hauling livestock and they all go dead silent at the same time, you pay attention. Animals got senses we don't have. They know when something ain't right. And if you see the air start to shimmer where it shouldn't, if your radio stops working, if the wind dies down in the middle of nowhere, Kansas, you get out of there. Don't stop to investigate. Don't try to figure out what's happening. Just drive away and don't look back. Because some things are better left alone. I still drive truck, but I'm more careful now about the routes I take and the times I travel. Won't haul livestock through drought country anymore. Stick to dry van and reefer loads, stuff that don't require me to pay attention to how the animals are acting. And when I'm training new drivers, I do some training work for smaller companies now and then, I always tell them the same thing. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, it probably is wrong. And if your cargo starts acting strange, you better start paying attention. Most of them don't believe me. Figure I'm just an old driver telling tall tales. But the smart ones listen. The smart ones understand that out here on the highways, especially in the empty country, you got to respect things you don't understand. Because the alternative is ending up like that pickup truck and minivan I saw that day. Stopped dead on the highway. Too scared or too fascinated to move. I don't know what happened to those people. I should have stopped to check on them when I came back through on the county roads. But I was too rattled, too focused on getting away from whatever was out there. Still feel bad about that sometimes. Hope they made it out all right. But I learned something that day that I'll never forget. There's things in this world that are bigger than us, older than us, and don't care about our schedules or our routes or our need to make a living. And when you encounter something like that, the smartest thing you can do is get out of the way and let it pass. The drought's supposed to be coming back next year. Weather Service is predicting another dry summer across the plains. When that happens, I'll be staying close to home. Maybe take some local runs, stuff that keeps me in Colorado, where there's mountains and trees and regular rainfall. Because I don't ever want to see that shimmer in the air again. Don't ever want to feel that stillness, or see my cargo go dead silent, or watch something that big move across a highway where it don't belong. Some roads are meant to be traveled. Others are meant to be avoided. And after 16 years of driving, I've learned the difference. That stretch of I-70 through Kansas, right around mile marker 127, during drought conditions, that's a road to avoid. Take my word for it.